All right, let's go to this conversation now as we look at the developments around the Ingonyama Trust Board. The Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, Thoko Didiza, has met with King MisuZulu Kia Zwelithini in his capacity as the chairperson. Thoko Didiza, who is the minister, joins us live now. Minister, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Firstly, let's just start with, the developments around the Ingonyama Trust Board, whether or not they took you by surprise.
Well, thank you very much to you and your listeners. Indeed, one was taken by surprise because it is the first time where the trustee has decided to take an option of chairing the board himself. But it's not like it's not allowed in law. So what had always happened is that the king would appoint a nominee to chair the board, which happened actually last year when we were appointing a new board. King MisuZulu Kia Zwelithini appointed a nominee, Ingonyama. He then has written a letter to me indicating that he is relieving Mzimela of his responsibility. He is now going to take over the chairpersonship. He then requested a meeting to formally have an engagement with me on the matter, which offered me an opportunity to also take him through about this new responsibility that he's taking and what it will require from him.
And what are you also able to tell us about that meeting, particularly when he made the decision to let him go? Because we all know that, Nkosi Mzimela was serving at his behest, but a lot of questions still remain as to why was that decision then made? Were you able to get those answers?
Well, I don't think it's an issue where a nominee, a person who has a prerogative to appoint a nominee, you may ask them what are the reasons if those reasons are not disclosed, because it wasn't reasons that he may not have acted in accordance to the law. It was just a choice that the king has made, wanting to ensure that he has a full appreciation of Ingonyama Trust and the board, how it's operating, how it interfaces with the traditional communities whose land are under the trust, as well as its accountability to those communities and to Parliament, which supports the board's functionality.
And I wonder, though, does he also understand the concerns or even the shock by many to say that what's happening here, especially when it comes to issues of stability? Some were looking to see what is going on because the changes, some were saying, were too soon and worried about the stability and the functions of the board. And I wonder if it is something that you were able to speak about?
Yes, we did. Actually, you'd recall that even before the meeting with the king himself, I had issued a statement to assure the community in the province and also in South Africa that the board was stable. The fact that the chairperson was relieved of his duty did not mean that the board was not functional. There is a deputy chair who is actually continuing with the management of the Ingonyama Trust Board to function. So what we then had to discuss with the king is actually what the responsibility that he carries as a chairperson in respect of this institution, and also appraise him upon the issues that we were concerned about in the previous board, as well as the issues that the portfolio committee had raised with the incoming board that they needed, answers to, and indicate how far those matters had been dealt with. But also, it was to clarify the issues of relationship, because you'll appreciate that before the king advised all of us that he was changing the chairperson, there was a statement that was made by the Prime Minister, which had some nuances about Abakosi now wanting to take over the responsibility of the governance of Ingonyama Trust, which in our view needed to be clarified, because firstly, there is no provision for Undunankulu or the Prime Minister in respect of the Ingonyama Trust legislation. So there is no role for him. But secondly, we thought some of the things were being misplaced, because one had to ask whether that statement, does it mean the communities whose land is under Ingonyama Trust, do they want the trust to be dissolved so that they can take over the governance of their land on their own, which clearly I don't think that's what he meant. So I was trying to clarify all of those matters to say, actually, what is the statute requiring all of us to do, both in terms of the appointments as well as the governance and financial management and accountability.
And the issues of accountability are quite critical, especially when you look at this. I mean, you think about what also Parliament had to say in some of the instances, you know, the presentations without, you know, a performance plan, without budgets, allocations, and some of the concerns around the processes. Does the King then understand how important accountability is going to be here, you know, going forward, especially given the debates and the discussions that have been had about Ingonyama Trust over the years?
He fully understands, and we made sure that we brief him from my side as the minister responsible to say what are our expectations from himself as the chairperson, as well as him and the board collectively on those matters.
All right, let's then see then, Minister, if your meeting bears fruit, and a lot of some who are concerned, in fact, about the developments here, have their concerns allayed. But as you're saying, that, you know, some of the issues have been clarified, and interesting that some of the statements that were made as well, also forming part of that meeting. But let's see what happens. That was Thoko Didiza, Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform, as well as Rural Development.